In this video we'll do a behind the scenes walkthrough of the sample star rating Viewbox control. So you can see we have the Viewbox control here running in the UX component, and this particular control allows you to select a star rating by clicking on a individual star. But because this is a Viewbox, it has a value, and if we were to submit this UX component back to the server, the value of the Viewbox right now would be 2 because 2 stars are selected, and if I were to submit right now, the value of the Viewbox would be 4 because 4 stars are selected. So let's go now and start from scratch, delete the Viewbox, and go in here and create our new Viewbox control. And then we'll choose one of the samples that ship with the product. So we'll go there and say load Viewbox samples, and we'll choose the star rating control over here. So now when we go now and look at how this Viewbox was designed, we can see that the Viewbox itself has as its data source some static JSON, and the static JSON is just an empty object. So we're actually not using the data property of this Viewbox in this particular example. Then the next thing to look at is the actual layout of the Viewbox, and we can see here that the Viewbox is constructed with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 divs. So each div represents a star, and inside each div we basically have some SVG that represents the actual star itself. So when we go here and we preview this Viewbox, these stars were created using SVG. So SVG obviously is scalable, so that means that the stars are going to look good at any resolution. But the key point here is that each div represents a star, and we can also see here that when we look at this code, that the class that has been applied to each div is a class called star, and that class is defined over here. So there's the star class, and it has a background color of gray, and it also specifies a pointer. So when we put our mouse over the star, you can see it changes to a pointer. Then and the most important part about this is that since this is a template, we can use Alpha's client-side templating syntax, and you can see here we're basically inside the class definition for each star. There's an if statement using client-side templating syntax that says that if the value of the Viewbox is greater or equal to 1, then return the value of selected. So that means that if the Viewbox has a value of 1 or greater, then in addition to the class of star being applied, we're also going to apply the class of selected. And if we go back to our CSS, we can see that selected is setting the fill of the star to be gold. So that's why when we click on one of the stars, that star and all of the stars to the left of it become gold. So let's go back to our layout over here. So the other key point here is that when we click on this particular star, we're setting the value of the Viewbox to 1. So basically the A5-value attribute determines what the value of the Viewbox is. So when we click on the second star, the value of the Viewbox is 2, and then in this case it's 3, etc. Now inside the template itself, you can refer to the Viewbox's value by using the special syntax over here. So square bracket temp.value gives you what the current value of the Viewbox is. So what this is over here saying is that if the value of the Viewbox is greater or equal to 1, then return selected. So this is what's causing the stars to become gold. So let's pause now and pick this up in the next video. So we're continuing now with our walkthrough of the star rating sample Viewbox, and we can see now how this conditional statement now is applying the selected class to some of the stars. So when we go back to preview there and we click, for example, over there, you can see that basically the selected class was applied to this star, and this star over here. But you can also see that the selected star is shown a little bit bigger than all of the other stars. So let's go now and take a look at how that was done. So if we now look at each of the divs here, we can see that in addition to specifying an A5-value attribute which sets the value that the Viewbox has when the user clicks on the star, we also have an item called star click, and all of the divs use the same item there called star click. So let's go take a look at what the definition of the star click item is. So there's the star click item. We can see that this item does not specify any JavaScript. We could have specified an on-click event or an on-double-click event, but the key point about it is that this particular item has been designated as selectable, and we've said that the class that would be applied to the selected item is actual star selected. And if we go over to our CSS here, we can see that the actual star selected basically still keeps the fill as gold, but it changes the stroke, which is the outline of the star, to also be gold as well. So previously it was not visible, but once the stroke becomes visible, the star becomes slightly bigger. So that's why when we actually click on a row, the appearance of the star appears to be slightly larger. So what we've shown in this video is how the star rating Viewbox control works. This particular control is unusual in the sense that it doesn't really use any data at all. The HTML that the Viewbox renders is not generated by merging data into a template. The HTML is statically defined, and all of the sort of behind the scenes work is taking place by removing and adding classes to the individual stars, which themselves are generated using SVG. Thanks very much for watching.